at me, man. Come on. Come on, man. Look at me, buddy. Come on. Come on, Danny.
Come on, Cap.
Stevie, who you working on? Over. Stevie, who you working on? That's me. Oh, God, that's me. Okay, Stevie, look, you got this, okay? Keep the chest compressions going just like I taught you. Don't let me die, man. It's okay. It's okay. You did the best you could. No! It's not time yet! Where am I?
This is Major Suggins, over. Yes, sir, he just arrived. No, sir, he's not ready, but I can reach him. Sir, I need more time. Send 2 of your best operators down here. Thank you, sir. Suggins out.
Major Suggins, I'm Valhalla Operator 599, and this is 837. Where do you need us?
Appreciate you coming down. Right there is your target.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's stuck like hell.
I haven't seen someone this stuck in a long time.
Yeah, and we're initiating Valhalla Protocol Alpha.
Yeah, roger that, sir.
We need to find out why he's still holding on, and then force him to let go.
Man, why don't we just take him straight to combat and just be done with this?
No, his grip's too tight. It could be dangerous. I want to shake him loose without taking him back to war.
Well, time is ticking. Better get to it.
All right, let's get moving.
What if your ugliest scar could become your most beautiful gift? My transition to civilian life 6 years ago was a nightmare. The isolation got so dark that one afternoon I found myself standing in my bedroom closet holding a loaded .45 caliber pistol and no intention of coming out alive. How did I get here? 2 years earlier, I was at the top of my game as an Army Green Beret running strategic missions all over the world. And now in retirement, I can barely find the motivation to leave my own house. Worse, I'm losing my family. My mood swings have become so unpredictable that my wife and boys get up and leave every room I enter. Heart pounding in the darkness, sweat running off the tip of my nose. Scott, you can do this. It's better this way. Just end it. Then I hear it. Cooper, my middle son, he's home from school. What kind of dad kills himself and lets his son find him? Ashamed, I lock that pistol up and I walk out of that closet, unwilling to live, but unable to die. My transition purgatory. About 6 months later, I'm having a conversation with an old friend named James. We served in Afghanistan together, and he's in that same dark place that I'm trying to get out of, only his place is much darker. Running out of options, reluctantly, I share that story about the closet. And when I do, I see the color return to his face, and that distant stare starts to come back into focus. And I know I've reached him. And he knows he's no longer alone. And I'm not either. That horribly embarrassing scar from my transition just became my greatest gift when it mattered the most. Google Dictionary defines a scar as a mark on the skin or in the tissue where a cut, burn, or sore has not fully healed and this fibrous connective tissue has formed. I define a scar as an emotionally charged mark that is buried in the soul, and it's earned through the struggle and even the trauma of living one's life fully, with the potential, if unleashed, to form fibrous connective tissue with the outside world and even heal oneself and others in the process. By my definition, there is a generosity in a scar if we are willing to pay the price. When I was selected to speak from this TEDx circle in 2016, I had trouble taking the stage. My scars were still very raw. So I started working with a performance coach named Joe. Now, Joe quickly realized that my biggest challenge was opening up about my emotions in front of other people. Like so many veterans, I had been trained to put the armor over the feelings, and that kept me alive for years. One day in a rehearsal, Joe looks over at me. "Hey, Scott, what's that on your wrist?" "It's a Magic Silly Band." My son Braden gave this to me a couple years ago when he was a little guy. I wore this thing through thick and thin, never took it off. Well, dude, that's the kind of emotional access I need you to have on every story you tell. All right, here's your homework. You're going to write a 5-minute, one-person play about that silly band, and you're going to tell it at our next student night. A play? I'd rather go back to Afghanistan. What if I fall apart, huh? Green Berets don't write plays, Joe. But I did write it, and I did tell it, and I most certainly fell apart. They tell me that the audience stood with thunderous applause, but all I remember are the tears running down the face of my wife, Monty, and my 3 sons. And this feeling deep inside that I had finally found my voice in this world again. And for the first time in a very long while, I knew what I needed to do next. 2 years. 59 revisions and 162 acting classes later, my midlife crisis is complete. This silly band is at the heart of a one-act play called Last Out, Elegy of a Green Beret, that our 4-person cast is taking on tour to 28 cities across America, raising awareness on veteran and military family issues. I've learned a lot about the generosity of scars on this tour. And the first thing I've learned is that people still dig scars. Hey, what happened?
A plane hit the south wall.
That's Kenny's office.
What the fuck are you doing, man? You can't go in there.
Kenny!
Hey, listen to me.
Kenny!
Listen to me. You can't go in there, okay? They're gone. They're all gone. I'm sorry.
Stop all departures. Stop all.
Yeah, went in the Pentagon. Looks like it went in the Pentagon.
You did everything you could, man.
No, they're going to pay for what they did to you.
You gotta keep your head, man. You can't stay in between like this,
Well,
Danny.
you know what? Valhalla can wait, man.
No, it can't. And it won't. Look, you've got to let it go. If you're here in just a few hours, you'll be condemned to a place of unparalleled suffering. It's a barren wasteland where you'll be forced to face all the wrongs that you've done, and you can never look away.
You know what? I'm doing things my way now. My way. On September 11th, 2001, Al-Qaeda killed my Ranger buddy, Cliff Patterson, in the Pentagon. The character Kenny is based on him. I spent the next 10 years of my life trying to avenge my friend's death in that barren wasteland, and it almost took me out. I had trouble letting go. I wasn't alone. The reason people still dig scars is because they make us relatable to other humans. Hundreds of isolated veterans have expressed to me through tears the relief they feel when they see their pain validated on our stage, and the realization that they don't have to hold on to those demons anymore. The sister of a Green Beret Sergeant Major stood up after an Albuquerque show in our talkback, and she said, "Thank you for showing me in 85 minutes what my big brother's been trying to tell me about this war for 5 years." But if we're going to be generous with our scars, we have to own our story, or our story will own us.
Another Afghanistan deployment.
Yep.
This one's sure starting off better than the last, man.
I think so.
The guys have been grumbling.
About what?
Jason. Have you gotten any word on him yet?
Yeah, they had to evacuate him to the States. Headquarters said they're going to have to amputate the right leg.
That sucks.
Yep.
You know what?
What?
What if the people in this village that we're trying to protect are the same ones planting the bombs, man?
Are we going to do this too? Because I just got word that Wally's hanging out at his brother's house, and we're going to hit him up close and personal. So go get the team. I'm not asking you, Sergeant. Go get the team.
Yeah, will do, Top.
Hey. Are you still with me?
Yeah, always, man. But you should know something.
What's that?
You're gonna freeze in hell if you don't let go.
What? Oh, wait! Hey, hey. Hey, come on. Come on, stay with me. Chopper's inbound. Bushmaster 3-5, this is Aranya 03. I got an Eagle down. I need immediate medevac. Over. I'm sorry. Survivor's guilt's a big part of my story. I'm still here while so many of my brothers from the war are not. Some of them died doing what I asked them to do. Some of them I should have checked in on more when I got home. But I had to own this story. And when I did, healing far beyond myself started to happen. Jenny is a Gold Star mom. She lost her son Jason in Iraq. She beamed up at us from her seat at a Brandon, Mississippi show as her son's personal story of courage and sacrifice was revealed to her through my character's personal journey into combat. According to narrative expert Dr. Kendall Haven, we listen autobiographically to stories. And what that means is if you share your story of scars, you create this safe narrative bubble where others can step into it and process their own emotional issues in the safety of your narrative. What a gift a leader can give in these uncertain times. But remember that part I said about paying the price. Scars are uncomfortable.
Danny, Thomas Patton, what did you do?
What are you talking about?
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Caden is upstairs crying into his pillow. What'd you say to him this time?
Come on, he told me he's going to skip college and join the Army. He's not old enough to make that kind of decision.
What are you talking about? You were younger than he is now when you joined
the
up.
Connecticut kid has no business being in the Army, Lynn. Besides, we agreed he's going to play basketball and be an engineer.
Oh, we agreed,
That's right.
Huh? Since when do we get to vote on what our son does with his life? What's this really about?
23 men. 23 of my brothers gone. And I don't want my son to be 24. Besides, he still has a dream.
His dream is to be like his daddy, to make you proud.
Proud?
Yes.
What, by going off and dying for people at home who hate each other? That doesn't make me proud. That makes me sick. And when I get back from this deployment, I'm done.
You're done.
That's right.
You're done. Well, if you are done, I couldn't be happier. But after all that we have been through, I only want you back here for the right reasons. I don't want you back here because you're just going to give up.
You know what? I'm going back to Afghanistan tomorrow where things seem to make a little more sense. But before I do, I'll tell you like I told that kid. He's not joining up because I won't allow it.
He's going to do exactly what he wants because that is exactly what you do. So wake up, Danny Patton.
Within the generosity of scars, there are two powerful stories that are very uncomfortable. A good scar story is a story about you that you don't want to tell anybody else. And a great scar story, well, that's a story about you that you don't want to tell yourself. The thought of my oldest son, Cody, joining the Army, who was 3 years old when the towers fell, was definitely one of those latter stories. But after every deployment, he was 1 year older and one step closer to that realization until... Now, this is not about service. I couldn't be prouder of it. It's not pro-war or anti-war. I'm talking to you as a father who's seen his share of combat. 18 years into the longest war in our nation's history, so many of our politicians on both sides of the aisle commit a small percentage of our sons and daughters to conflict after conflict as casually as a teenager starts a new video game of Fortnite. And most Americans are oblivious to it. So while the scar of my son fighting a war that I couldn't finish in this play is super uncomfortable, it's helped open the eyes of thousands of citizens, media, and yes, some politicians to the personal cost of modern war. And maybe there's a little more emotional skin in the game the next time they have to make that decision. But what about you? I'm sure that some of you are sitting out there thinking, okay, this is cool. How do I lead with my scars? For me, it started with a hard conversation with a struggling Army buddy about my bout with suicide. For you, it could be at work. Maybe an employee has made a mistake, and instead of chewing her out, you share a scar from your past where you made a bigger mistake and what you learned from it. Or maybe your child is struggling in high school, and you share your past struggle with addiction. Start small. A little scar, a blemish from your past. Write, talk about it, develop it. Whatever it is, take those initial steps and tap into it. Own it and share it so that you earn the right to lead us even when we don't want to follow you. Because I'm telling you, if I could come back into this red circle in 2016 and add one thing to my talk, it would be the generosity of a scar. This is the rocket fuel that allows people to lead from the rooftop even when storm clouds gather. And in these low trust times, people are hungry for it.
Caden doing okay?
Yeah, he knows I'm leaving today.
Is that Caden's silly band?
Mm-hmm.
His baseball player silly band?
Yeah.
This is his favorite.
I know.
The only thing he wears more than that uniform is this silly band. He gave it to you.
While you were still sleeping. No, he's staring into his cereal bowl, and before I could even ask him what was wrong, he slips it on my wrist. Tells me it's magic.
Magic.
Yeah, he said it'll keep me safe and bring me back to him.
What else did he say?
Oh, get this. He said for it to work, I have to wear it the whole time I'm over there. Can you imagine trying to wear this with all those officers running
He's
around?
right.
What?
He's right.
Baby, I
Don't
get all
you
this-
ever take this off, you hear me? Promise me?
I promise. A couple of months ago, we performed Last Out in the little town of Vermilion, South Dakota. It's a Saturday night. The theater's jam-packed. Sitting on the front row is Corey Breest and his wife, Jenny. Now, Corey was gravely wounded by a roadside bomb in Iraq that left him partially blind, paralyzed, and with a terrible traumatic brain injury. During the scene you just saw, Corey started to rock in his wheelchair and moan loudly. We felt it. It comforted us. After the show, his dad and his wife pushed him up to us in his wheelchair, and I took a knee and we gave each other a big hug. And his dad looked down at me and he said, "Scott, do you see that white ring around Corey's wrist?" "Yes, sir, I see it." That's where his daughter's silly band was burned into his skin. He was so happy tonight when he heard you tell that story about your silly band. Scars make us relatable. Scars make us and give us stories. And scars are uncomfortable. But there's generosity in a scar if you are willing to pay the price. And it's time that you are. Because the world needs what you've earned. Thank you.